Welcome to the Million Gold Nuggets podcast, where four dynamic women unite to share transformative insights on mindset, manifestation, spirituality, and the invaluable gems of wisdom that can elevate your life. We are parents, entrepreneurs, and friends from diverse corners of North America, passionate about sharing the lessons we've learned and implemented in our own journeys. Each week, join Jennine, Leslie, Amber, and Nicole as we dive into heartfelt conversations that inspire and uplift, blending personal development strategies, manifestation, and practical wisdom. Whether you're aiming for success, seeking personal growth, or simply looking to fine tune your mindset and energy, we've got the golden nuggets you need to turn your dreams into reality. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and prepare to soak up the insights that can spark your transformation. Together, let's forge a path to collective growth and expansion, because the journey to fulfillment is all about collecting those precious gold nuggets. Welcome to the show. I'm Nicole, your host for today. Welcome, ladies. So excited to see you. So, in today's episode, we're going to talk about self-image. We're so excited to dive into that, into this topic with you guys. So, what is self-image? Why is it so important? And how can changing the way we see ourselves change our lives and have a positive impact? And what are some strategies we can put into place in order to foster a more positive self-image? So what is self-image? Self-image refers to the mental picture or perception that individuals have of themselves. It encompasses various aspects, including how one views their physical appearance, their abilities, their personal traits, and overall worth. Self-image is shaped by a combination of personal experiences, social interactions, cultural influences, and feedback received from others. So basically, it's the opinion that we have of ourselves. So, ladies, let's get into this. Why is our self-image and the opinion we hold of ourselves so important?
I think it actually reflects, because I know a lot of times, most of you are probably thinking that it doesn't really matter outside, right? Like it probably doesn't affect anybody. These are just my thoughts and what I view of myself, so it doesn't affect my kids, my spouse, my partner, my friends, etc. But it actually does affect them as well as like vice versa. So if I have a certain feeling about how I look, my outward appearance, it's actually going to reflect in how I act, um, whether that's positive or negative. So if I'm feeling that I'm ugly, I'm fat, I'm too skinny, whatever, I'm bald, I don't know, whatever it may be, maybe for some of those guys out there, right? Like, so that's going to reflect in how I interact. I know I used to be the girl at the swimming pool. This was like completely covered up, right? Didn't want anybody to look at me. I'm gross and right, all these things. So that reflected outward. And then I think too on the flip side, if if we view ourselves as beautiful, handsome, whatever it may be, right, then that's also going to be reflected. I know the times when I would wake up, since I've been on my spiritual journey, and I looked in the mirror and I'm like, "Oh, you look beautiful today," right? No joke. I would go on a call or I talk with a friend, and they're like, "Wow, you look really good today," and I'm like, "What in the world," right? Because I had already seen that within myself. So that's a physical view, but it works the same way for intelligence or capabilities, stuff like that.
You're so right.
Absolutely.
Like our image of ourselves shows up in every single action that we do, every single relationship that we have. It shows up in our job. So it's so important to kind of know yourself and know how you're going to act in certain situations. Knowing yourself, your confidence level, how you're feeling about yourself in certain situations. It's just so important to know that and to be aware of how how you are, you know. on a day-to-day basis in certain, interactions with people and things that you're doing.
Yeah, 100%.
I think it also determines what we believe, ourselves to be. Um, how we act is what we attract.
Mm-hmm.
It just shapes our lives and, determines what we believe we deserve.
Yeah, 100%. It becomes our set point, right? Like our success mechanism. If we don't believe that we're capable, we're very likely not to be successful in many different areas of our lives, whether it's relationship, career, anything, right? If we're not thinking positive things about ourselves, if we don't have a positive self image, a positive opinion of ourselves, we're not likely to be very successful in many different areas of our lives, right?
Mm-hmm. Neville Goddard said, what we don't manifest, no, he said, what we don't manifest, how did he say it? I'm sorry. He said, we manifest who we are, not what we want.
Mm.
So who we are and not what we want.
Yeah.
And so we have to have a positive self-image to become who we are.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, how can changing the way we see ourselves change our lives and have a positive impact?
Well, I think that just goes along with what we were just talking about in terms of if we see ourselves as confident, then we're going to be confident in the things that we do. Or if we see ourselves in not so confident, then that's going to show up. So how we see ourselves is what we're going to actually show in our real life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, naturally. It will naturally align us with the opportunities and relationships and experiences that reflect our beliefs of ourselves.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
if you feel that everything always works out for you and you're in good spirits and you're loving yourself, that's what you're going to see. Where if you see that you are like, always the victim, right? You see yourself as a victim of whatever circumstance, then that's what you're going to see in your life, right? You like Jennine said, you get what you are, not what you want.
Yeah.
And so if you see yourself in as this amazing, intelligent, you know, bold, whatever you would like to be, woman, man, whomever, then that's what you're going to get. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
it's so important to have to reflect on who you are, and it always actually it shows up in your world, right? Who you are with the people that you're around. If you see something in someone else, that that's part of you, that's who you were or are, right? You see the things happening, that it all has to do with who you are. So taking that time to reflect and know yourself, you're just going to better your circumstances and increase the value of your life when you know who you are, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And it'll have a positive impact on your mental health too, right?
Yep.
When you believe good things about yourself, I mean, the thing is that if you've heard in your life some negative comments, some negative feedback, perhaps you've been criticized, in your life, and when you hear those things and take them on as your beliefs and make them your truth, then that will be your truth. But the truth of the matter is that you don't need to believe those things. Just because somebody has said something to you in the past and you have believed it doesn't make it true, only if you believe it to be true. So I think it's really important to look at, how do you really see yourself? What do you really think about yourself? And start evaluating its validity, because it might just be something that, a fourth grade teacher told you, right? And you took that on and made it part of who you are. And it has affected every part of your life, whether you realize it or not. So I think it's really important to really get clear on exactly what you think of yourself right now. What is your self-image right now? And be brutally honest, right? And start to really question, like I said, the validity of it. And you know what? If you're like, no, I'm not actually like stupid. These are all areas of my life where I've shown up and I've been brilliant, right? Like just look at evidence in your life where you've been the opposite and start creating a new self image and create the person that you want to be versus the person you don't want to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think that's
Absolutely.
really an important point where we often listen to the negative aspects that people tell us that we are. Yeah, people tell you the nice things and we accept them, but we don't accept them as much as we accept these negative things. And so I think you need to question, well, am I really that way? Like what, or, when you were a kid, like all these kids were making fun of you. I know for me, kids made fun of me because of the way that I looked. And I carried that for a long time, not realizing that I didn't have to accept that truth of who I am, because it's not who I am. The way I look is not who I am. I'm a kind, caring, compassionate person. Always have been. Even as a kid, I cared about everybody. I liked everybody. I always tried to make everybody so happy, but I was always told I wasn't good because of the way that I looked. So really, I love that whole validity thing. Like really,
Yeah.
and knowing me and knowing that, hey, like you said that about me. No, I am not that way. Who said I'm that way?
Yeah.
Not me. I say I'm this way, and this way is the best way, right? So that was a really important point I think you made.
Exactly. And somebody could look at me and say, "Oh, you're blonde." And I'd be like, "No, I'm not." Right? Obviously. And I know that. Like, right, I know that. And I
Yeah.
think it's important to have that same knowing when people say certain things about you, because I can resonate with what Leslie just said, right? I was criticized growing up about my weight and what I look like. And I suffered a lot of bullying, and I made it very much a part of who I was. And it affected every part of my life. I mean, it affected my relationships, how I showed up, the goals that I set in place for myself or didn't, and thinking that I needed to look a certain way in order to have a husband or have a great career or be successful. And it's just not true. So I really had to look at all those things that I was thinking about myself and reevaluate and really start to look around and look at the evidence in the world, right? You know, there's people of all different shapes and sizes who are successful. There are people of all different shapes and sizes who are married, and have loving relationships and all the things. So I think it's really important to start questioning whether or not that's actually true. And we've talked about this in our previous podcasts, right? About our beliefs and we believe to be true. And so those are not absolute truths, right? Because if I think that I need to be thin in order to be successful, but I see other people of different shapes and sizes who are successful, that's not an absolute truth, is it? So you can start to look at, well, really, is it true? And do I need to believe that? And do I really need to think that of myself? Right?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is so such, I mean, there's so many different aspects that it can change the our lives, right? And how we feel about ourselves just by changing the opinion that we hold of ourselves.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's beautiful. Um, so what strategies can we put into place, ladies, in order to develop a more positive self-image? I know we've touched on a couple.
Mhm. I think it goes back just like in our episode about goals, what's empowering and what's not. So if I were to think that I was stupid or ugly or fat or too thin or whatever it may be, is that empowering for me? Right?
Mm,
Do those feelings empower me in any shape or form? And if they don't, um, just like, I'm a very visual person, as I've probably said tons of times. But let's say you're going through your fridge and you see stuff that's moldy. How many of you are going to put it right back? Well, hold on, because my husband would, and probably my kids.
my kids would.
Right. But most of us, moms and parents, we're not. We're gonna notice that it's moldy, not empowering, right? For us to eat. We're not gonna eat it, right? And we're gonna toss it. So it's kind of the same thing, just taking inventory, right? And of the things, right? Notice the self-talk. That's number one thing.
Mm.
I know a prompt that my mom used to always do, and I used to find it so annoying when I was younger, but now I understand and I actually do it to my kids is a lot of times I would be quiet and would be driving or whatever. And she's like, what are you thinking? Right. Just like asking. And so, and of course at the time I'm like, I don't know, but right. But just cause, and so of yourself, right. Asking like, hey, what are you thinking? Right. And then also like, is this empowering? Oh, I can't do that. Oh, whoops. Oh, is that like empowering for me? Right. Because we can always figure things out. So I think that's the first step is just noticing it and then deciding if we want to keep the moldy bread or do we want to toss it, right?
That's such a great point. I'm thinking myself too is loving myself. So saying nice things to myself,
Mhm.
about the way I look, maybe what I did that day, um, just loving who I am. So once I've understand who I am, just loving who I am, right? Looking at all those
Yeah.
nice aspects of myself and just saying like, yeah, you're a great person, or you look beautiful today, or it all helps with your self-image, right? Of how you look at yourself when you just love yourself. And also the other thing that I always do is it kind of goes along with self-love, but it's like the gratitude. So I'm, very grateful for being able to see and touch and taste, and that all has to do with your self-image of yourself.
100%.
Some of the strategies that I think that are very helpful too, just like Leslie said, saying good things about yourself, celebrating your wins. Hey, I got dinner fixed. It's done. That's a win for me. Daily affirmations that you can just recite and say good things about yourself. Visualization, hold yourself, as the person you wish to be with certainty that that is who you are. And going back to what Amber was saying, about the refrigerator thing, um, I call that a mental diet. And it's
Yeah.
like guard your mind, reject the negative self-talk, and replace those with empowering beliefs.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with positivity, engage, like we're doing right here, right now. We're engaging with people that are of like-minded, ness, and the content that we're absorbing, the environments that we put ourselves in, and those things reinforce our true identity.
I think that is so true. It's so powerful what you just said, Jennine. And what you said about surrounding yourself in positivity, right? Like, what are you watching? What are you looking at online? What types of people are you hanging out with? I mean, I remember I had a group of friends in high school, and it was like, oh, let's look in the mirror and pick out all the things we hate about ourselves. Like,
Mm.
how damaging is that? Good Lord.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at, are the people that you're surrounding yourself with, are they constantly critical? Are they constantly berating themselves? You might want to start looking at these things and perhaps limiting the time that you spend with them, or try to curb the conversation in a different direction, or perhaps, say, what is it that you like about yourself, right? Because that is one of the things that has really helped me in changing my self-image, is instead of constantly looking at my flaws and my downfalls, and where I see myself as inadequate, and start looking at the things that I do love, the things that I am good at, the things that, really do light me up. And, what Leslie said about gratitude. Gratitude has been huge, right? Because when you can start being grateful for who it is that you are, for your body, what it can do, it can really have a significant impact and really start to change the way you see yourself. And when you see yourself in a different light, you start behaving differently, right? And then you start attracting new and more positive situations into your life, more positive people, more opportunities to be able to see yourself in a better light. It just has such a ripple effect, doesn't it?
Love it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's so beautiful, ladies. Does anybody have anything else that they wanted to add in terms of what strategies we can put into place in order to develop a more positive self-image?
I think this is good.
Well, yeah, I always like to add a little blurb, and somebody, anybody can say what they want to say after too. But your self-image is the blueprint of your life. The way you see yourself determines what you attract and what you allow. You are already everything you desire to be. Align with the truth, and life will reflect back to you.
That is so beautiful. I absolutely love your blurbs, Jennine, and I'm sure everybody else does too.
Me too.
I'm
Oh,
sorry, Amber, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No,
go
you're
ahead.
good. No, you're good. Let's end with that because that was perfect.
awesome. Awesome, ladies. Well, this has been beautiful. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the Million Gold Nuggets podcast. If you got value out of this episode or think someone would benefit from it, please hit the share button, or don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Until we meet again, remember the journey to fulfillment is all about collecting those precious gold nuggets.